welcome you all to the Beta Alpha SIU Summer Meeting for 2019. My name is Dale Latz, and we help coordinate this with Mike Schultz and Dan Larson. We're very happy to see the turnout we have. We've had about 35 brothers or more register for this. I think there's a few more that aren't here that should show up. And over 50 with spouses and things like that. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of the details before I turn it over to Steve Wyatt and have the annual meeting. Again, so we're going to have the meeting in here today. Probably have an hour, hour and a half of the meeting. We have a bartender if you want drinks. We just have a tab set up and we'll cover that, so you don't have to pay for anything. So at a break or something, if you want to go up and get a pop or a drink or something like that, more than welcome to do that. Lunch, we'll have sandwiches brought in and we'll have this set up right next door. And when we break for lunch, you can go in there and get sandwiches and chips and some fruit and so forth, and you can bring that back in here and get another drink or eat out in the lobby area there. It shouldn't be that crowded at that time of day. We passed around the agenda. If you want an agenda for the day's activities and haven't got one, we've got some up here. For those that are going to spend some time in Champaign and just got here today, we do have maps from the tourist office that has a map of the downtown area with all the restaurants and other businesses and so forth in the area. So you're more than welcome to tear one of these off and take that. Rick, I'm going to turn to say, Rick, do you want to say anything about the memorabilia stuff up there that you've got for the 50th anniversary?
We'll talk about that later.
Oh, okay. All right. Mike, anything else? Or Dan Larson, anything we need to kind of bring up as far as specifics or anything like there? Again, we'll talk about the two tours, the two events we have after lunch, going out to Chuck's Farm and the Brainstorm Escapes when the meeting's done. And before we have lunch, we'll explain just the locations of where those are and how to get to that and so forth. Otherwise, for those that haven't been to Champaign for quite a while, we've been in the area for 40 years outside of town, but they've redeveloped all this in the last 15, 20 years a lot. So from just outside of here, this whole 2-block area is just a very busy area of restaurants and bars and things like that. For those of you that might have been familiar with the University of Illinois and Green Street way back when, if you got time, I would suggest you take a drive down here, go down here to the university, go all the way down to Lincoln, take a right on Lincoln, and then come back on Green Street, which will take you right through Campus Town. That whole area is, in the last 10 years, a development that's gone on, especially new high-rises for the student population and things like that. It's totally different than from 20 or 30 years ago. You wouldn't even recognize it. So if you're interested in that and had been familiar and you want to take a drive down Green Street later today or tomorrow morning or something when you leave, you might be interested in seeing how that all has transpired and grown. And there's just activity, continual activity of new housing developments being built down there. You'll see cranes and that all over the place. Yeah, it's just amazing how that's happened. So again, if you haven't registered yet and paid, it's just $10 a piece for lunch here, which we'll have again after the meeting. Just most of you have already, just see me for that after the meeting or sometime. We'll take care of that. Again, feel free to pop up and get a drink anytime, and again, that's taken care of. We'll cover that tab for you. We wanted, Bill Hobner's not here, but we want to thank him. He sent us a check for $1,500 to cover the hospitality room costs and things like that. So for those of you that aren't going to go on one of the two events after lunch, we do have a hospitality room up in room 922 upstairs. I'll be around here yet. If a few want to hang around that aren't going on one of the events, we can go up there and have socialize a little bit or whatever we want to do. So with that, unless I've missed something, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Wyatt for our formal meeting, and we'll move on from there. Steve?
Thank you, Dale. It's good to see everyone here today. It'd be nice to have more seats filled, but it's great to see everyone. The meeting will now come to order. The first thing I'd like to do is to go around for introductions. Just introduce yourself. If you have a spouse or a guest with you, introduce them. You might give your year you graduated, your PIN number, and maybe where you live, or just make it fairly short, but just a little something about you. I'll start off. I'm Steve Wyatt. I have my wife Jean with me today. We live in Effingham, Illinois. I graduated in 1970 with a PIN number 57. I'm retired from USDA National Ag Statistics Service, and I've been enjoying retirement for 11 years now. So, let's start up here.
Chuck Ealer, class of 65. Can't believe it. Anyway, PIN number 34. I know I'm retired because I'm only working a 40-hour week now. My wife will join us this afternoon. I want to say something. You're all invited to come to my farm and look at the old equipment after lunch. There's only 3 turns from this hotel to my house, so no one's got an excuse to miss it. That's that.
You'll tell us how to get there? Tell us how to get there. Where's your?
Well, okay, all you have to do is get on Church Street, which is right here, go down to Mattis Avenue, which is about 2 miles, turn right, and we put up a big sign along Mattis Avenue, which is about 5 miles north of Church Street. It says, go west, and there's a church, 1 mile west, turn right, and you'll be right in front of my house.
We'll have a map and cover that at the end of our business
Yeah,
session.
real easy. We used to do a lot of trade teams for the U of I, and one of the reasons we had a popular location is the bus driver only had to turn about 3 times.
Okay, let's start over. Dale, let's go around this way.
Yeah, my name's Dale Latz. I was at Southern from 72 to 76. We live, after college, we've kind of moved out to Monticello area, which is just west of here, between here and Decatur. I've been there for about 40-some years now. I'm PIN 141. I did want to mention, I forgot in the opening, with this, the Hyatt's relatively new. It's been 3 or 4 years maybe. But this bar right here that we're in just opened up about a week ago. So this is basically brand new. They don't open till 3 normally, 3 in the afternoon, but they were very gracious to offer this as our, they have meeting rooms down below, but we thought this was really a nice location to have this. So we're very thankful for them offering this location to have this meeting at. It kind of works out really well, I think, with that. So.
Dan?
Yep, Dan Larson, graduated in '78, PIN number 210. I winter in Arizona and summer in Decatur, Illinois. Retired from ADM 3 years ago. Thanks.
I'm Mike Schultz. I graduated in '77. I live in Charleston, Illinois. My wife Gail is not in the room here, but she is here.
Spending your money, I saw him walking down the street.
Yeah, it's surprising.
Hello, I'm Steve Wagner. I am PIN number 216. Graduated in 1980. Dan was my pledge class president, and Mike was my pledge class master.
Pledge master,
Yeah,
whatever.
there you go.
Second flag.
And I work for Purdue Extension in Indianapolis.
Jerry Saltwheel, live in Bloomington, PIN 74. I'm getting senile too.
Steve Calhoun graduated in '70, the short year, and PIN number 68. And I spent 50 years in the seed business, so I retired 3 weeks ago, and I'm ready to go back.
Keith Hoskins, I graduated in '71. My wife is Debbie. I am still employed with First National Bank, Carmine, Illinois, and do ag loans. So I'm hoping we have a great crop year, so everybody pays back, you know. And but looking forward to this weekend. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Glenn Lacey. I graduated in '74, PIN number 142. Officially retired the first time, I guess, in 2014. Worked ag finance with Farm Service Agency, and at that point I was farm loan manager in southwestern Indiana. Still operating a family farm. My son does most of the day-to-day work. I basically told him, I said, I'll help you do everything. I said, spring and fall, I said, if it comes to cleaning out a green bin, I said, don't call me. I said, I'm done doing this Marine Corps bullshit.
My name is Paul Philipponis. I'm number 160. I started in '73, got done in '80, dropped out 4 times. Graduated in '84 after got my average up to a C as my major. And anyway, I moved around. I'm retired now at 62, but I'm still driving a semi truck. Part time, you make $17,500 this year for a couple more years. So, live in Kewanee, Illinois. That's my original town.
Dan Zwicker, I got out in '73. IRS address is Waco, Texas, but I'm never there. I spent a career basically in the grain business and called it quits in 2015.
Hi, I'm Jeff Smith, graduated from SIU in 1982, pin number 273, currently residing in Decatur, Forsyth, Illinois, and work for Farm Progress Companies.
My name is Michael Bockel. I graduated in 2008, Beta Sigma Pledge class, pin number 688. I'm currently a farm manager in Southern Illinois. Hopefully move back home here one of these years. And I'm currently your alumni advisor for the chapter. I've been doing that now for about 4 or 5 years now. So.
Bill Bradney, I graduated in '79, I live in Elgin, Illinois.
Tony Tracy from Geneseo, 246, graduated in '84, started in '78, was a Sigma pledge class. Retired from actually like 3 jobs now. Started out when I first got out of college, was doing a probation officer gig. That one lasted 13 years. Then I got out of that one, went into 911 dispatch. That lasted 19 and a half. Quit that one 2 years ago, retired. And now I'm the Chief Deputy Director of Emergency Management for Henry County, Illinois. And that's a volunteer gig, but don't tell my son that. He thinks I work more, and he's right, I work more now than when I did when I was working, but it's different. Homeless.
All right. Tom Meyer, graduated in 1980, pin number 229. My wife, Teresa, is here along with some other women. They're out coffee shopping or drinking or something. I don't know what they're doing. And glad to be here. I live in St. Louis in Webster Groves and work for a corrugated box company. And glad you're all here, and thank you.
Jake Riddleman, pin number 11, graduated finally in '65. You know, we had to get this Little League Javette Co-op off the ground, started '63, so, and my wife hadn't graduated yet, so it's just stuck around a little longer, but, of course, retired, glad to be here. Glad to see all you guys, been a long time for lots of you.
My name's Don Gwinnett. I'm a farmer from Marshall, Illinois, with Clark County along Interstate 70. Graduated from SIU in '73, pin number 108, I think. My wife Susan is here wandering around too. And one last thing, my dad always said, when you're on top, you better crow about it. And I looked at the Terre Haute paper this morning, and the Cardinals were on top. So. We'll probably get back. We're going to enjoy it while we're there.
Wayne Paletti, pin number 178. I graduated from Southern in '76. I went back to the family farm, and I've been there ever since. And my son's farming with us now, and been a good life. So enjoy these things. This is nice.
I'm Gerald Henry. My mailing address is Sedors, and that's about 15 miles southwest of here. I returned to the family farm. I graduated in '68. My pin number's 37. I happened to be on leave from the Army when got chartered, so I got on the original photograph. But I returned to the family farm after I come back from Vietnam, lucky part. And my last crop was 2011. The best decision I ever made. 12 was dry, and this year was a disaster. Best decision I ever made.
Kevin Miller, 78, kind of deja vu. I just checked out at this place yesterday. I had a meeting up here, been running around. I was around the Carbondale area last weekend. Checked out the old house, drove around it and everything. Graduated 78, Effingham area, corn and soybeans, and running around a lot the last couple of weeks. Some of you guys know what that's like.
Rick Hyatt, my wife Sue is with me here. live in Pontiac, Illinois, been there since I started a real job after the service. Graduated in '70, the short year. Transcript was S's and U's. There weren't any U's, they were all S's. So, anyway, pin number 45, and currently still fully engaged and employed, farm management and investment services. This last year, I wish this had happened 20 years ago, but my brother, who's also in farm management, and I came together with Hyatt Enterprises. I've had it for about 20 years, but he's joined me now, and we recently had a very great opportunity to acquire a farm management firm here in Champaign, Camp Farm Management. So I now have an office here in Champaign, so I call Champaign home too. So we got an office in Danville and Champaign and Pontiac, and I'm living a dream, having a great time. Thank you. Good to see everybody.
Rick, for those youngsters, you may want to explain what the short year is.
Well, the short year, yeah, some of you didn't realize, that was the year of the riots. The Kent State students that got killed, and several universities ended up having riots, and Southern was one of them, and they decided to close the university down. And we begged the professors in college to stay with us, but they were under an order to close down. They would have liked to have done that. At that time, we were on a quarter system instead of a semester system. And we had so many prerequisites to get some of those 400 level courses that we were kind of ticked because we were really into our last courses. So it was because of the riots, and they closed the university, and they still had graduation in May, and we came back, but our transcripts were all S's. So a little bit of difference.
Good time to be taking chemistry.
Jim Miller, I'm your alumni treasurer, graduated '83, pin number 255. From Witt, Illinois, actually vice president, senior loan officer, member of the board of directors, Security National Bank in Witt. Been there for 29 years. Looking forward to retirement. That's probably about 10 years off. Also farm with my brother, our family farm. And did I say pin 255, 83?
I'm Dewey Grenner. My wife and I farm around Nashville, Illinois. Have ever since I graduated from Carbondale in 1979. My PIN number, according to this, is 226. I always have trouble remembering that, you know. But it's good to see you all, and I look forward to talking to you when the meeting's over.
Steve Blackford, graduated in '65, pin number 21, live in West Lafayette, Indiana, and retired.
Richard Denhart, my wife Sharon, graduated in '64, pin number 20. When I graduated, there wasn't many jobs except salesman. So I went to work for W.R. Grace. Later on, I went to Illinois Crop Improvement, and from then to Illinois Foundation Seeds for 28 years, and currently I'm the executive secretary of Illinois Seed Trade Association.
I'm David Stevens, pin number 161. I left SIU in '76. I graduated from the University of Illinois in '78 and '80. I live in Wiley, Texas, which is outside of Dallas. I'm glad to be here to see everybody. I wasn't sure I was going to make it. I just became a grandfather and a couple weeks ago, so depending on where that had, as much as I wanted to be here, I would have been with my grandson if he'd been born. I'm technically, I'd thought about retiring this year, and the company I worked with, Raytheon, said, well, at that point I was thinking about it, and they said, well, we're going to give you a voluntary layoff and we'll pay you for 6 more months if you just quit. And I said, sounds good. So I technically don't retire for a couple more months. Raytheon's still paying me, but
on the books.
Yeah.
Named Chuck Schaub. I'm up here with my wife Brenda. We came up from Kaufman, Texas also. I graduated in 1980, pin number 199. I do remodeling down there, have for the last 35, 40 years. Quick question though about the short year. I heard that back in that year is when they smuggled the brick in to do the chapter room.
They did what?
They brought in the brick to do the chapter room walls down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard they brought those in by truckload. Yeah.
Right,
Had to smuggle them in.
Made that chapter room down there.
Yeah.
Kind of odd looking when this dump truck full of brick came
Yeah.
through the gates after curfew.
Yeah, right.
There's a will and a way.
Well, we're selling bricks for the riots.
There you go.
I'm Ron Brohammer, graduated in December of 1966, pin number 25. Life has a way of changing our plans. I thought I was in VOAG. I thought I was going to be teach for a little while and then get into farm management, egg co-op, whatever, something along that line. In about August of 66, the draft board informed me otherwise, so I had to scuttle student teaching and came back to school and was able to cobble enough classes together to end up with a degree in general agriculture. Went in the Air Force and had every intention of getting out the earliest possible time. 28 years later, I retired from the Air Force in 1995. And then I got into city government, city management, spent about 10 or 12 years in that, and then some odds and ends, and so finally retired in March of 2017. So this is a great crowd, and I'm really happy to see everybody here. So thanks.
Yeah, we've gone so far down the road, thanks to Rick's story. I'd like to give you
Thank you.
Very good. That was on my list of thank you and acknowledge Rick's things, so you beat me, that's fine. But anyway, I just want to take this opportunity to thank our committee for planning this. Things like this just don't happen. So I'd like to thank Dale and Kathy Latz, Dan and Cindy Larson, and Mike and Gail Schultz for planning and organizing this and making it happen. So let's give them a round. I like to take care of these things up front, otherwise as you get older you forgetful, and I a lot of times forget things. So anyway, I also want to thank Bill Hobner. Bill's not here. He's coming though, isn't he?
No.
He's not coming? No. But anyway, Bill is sponsoring the hospitality room, the bar here today. He is matching some funds that we raise on the sale of these items and the clothing and stuff. He's done some matching funds in the past, so even though Bill's not here, I want to thank him, and let's give him a plan. Money that we will make off the sales and whatever, we'll be putting that into our SIU scholarship fund. Also, I'd like to thank Chuck and Rennie for the tour at their place this afternoon. I think that'll be quite interesting for particularly anybody that's interested in old machinery. I know I have a few old tractors, but I don't have near the stuff that Chuck has. So we're looking forward to that, Chuck. So thank you. This is just a partial. No, partial. Okay. And then I've got a few comments to make as president of our association. We stay busy with a lot of things. I'd just like to report on a few things that we've been doing. I mentioned the scholarship funds. We do have two, for those that aren't aware of them. We have one at the SIU Foundation, which is roughly about $1,800. Jim will cover that in the Treasury report. And from that, we've been able to give 2 scholarships at the All-Ag Banquet each year, one for the outstanding junior and one for the outstanding sophomore, $500 each. That has been going over very well. And then we have a scholarship fund at the AGR National Foundation, and that's been endowed. It takes $25,000 to endow the fund. It's been endowed, and we're roughly $27,000. Our plans are to start giving a scholarship out of that fund. We have a scholarship committee that will determine what the criteria and all is, and we haven't got it all set up yet, but our plans are to give a scholarship at the 50th anniversary celebration next February. And speaking of the Founders Day celebration, I hope everybody can get there. That's going to be something big, I think. Brother Brohammer is going to talk about that after a bit. I'll turn the floor over to him shortly. Another presentation we'll have today will be on our resurrection of our districts. We're looking at that in some way that we can get more of our brothers engaged in our fraternity activities. Tom Meyer will talk about that, what we're trying to do there. We
AGR Housing Resources Trust Committee visit the campus in April. I went down and met with them. We do have Brother Greg Webb, who's on the AGR National Board. He's also part of that committee. They did come to Carbondale because they tried to get out to different locations that's close by where they have their meetings. They happen to have that meeting in St. Louis, so they came over to visit SIU and our Beta Alpha chapter. That visit went very well. They were very impressed with the chapter, with Tim Weber's leadership and the university. The Housing Trust Committee, one of the things they try to do is look at how they can help the chapters with renovations. They have some funds for that, help them do things. But one of the things that we may be more interested in, because we're renting a property, is sometime in the future we may want to build a house. They do provide resources for administration, help us plan, some things like that. They just don't put any money into it. So anyway, that was a good meeting. We met with them in April. And then the other thing I'd like to comment on, and you'll probably hear a little more about that from Jim when we see the numbers. We had some issues from the chapter. Is anybody here from the chapter today? I don't think so, other than Mike, but we'll get to that in just a little bit on the chapter report. But anyway, we've had a little overpayment from the chapter to our alumni association. So when Jim gives the report, you'll see there's some extra money in there that we've got to pay back. When we set up the rent deal for the house through Schilling, the landlord, we were just having a pass-through because we were having troubles collecting money and whatever, so we set Omega Phi to collect the money. They were to send us the rent. That had been working for several years, but for the last 4 years, that hasn't gone real well. I think a lot of that is because of turnover, and so we're going to owe them some money back. But what Omega was doing was not only sending us the rent money, but they were sending all the other chapter money to us also. So anyway, when you see the treasury report, you'll see that we've got, I think, somewhere around $19,000 that we'll need to pay back to them. Okay, with that, and Rick tells me for the secretary's report that we're going to cover everything, so we just won't have anything on that. So Jim, I'm going to turn it over to you for the treasury report.
Okay, I'm just gonna stay seated, but we did pass out if anybody wants to look, the balance sheet. This is as of 6/30, which is the end of our fiscal year. We have 4 different accounts at Security National Bank, which I take care of and review every day when I'm at work, except this past week, since I've been on vacation. And the other one at the National Bank of Petersburg is the one that Taj has, where he collects funds for the alumni and then sends that, or puts that in that account. And then the prepaid expenses have to do with the 50th anniversary. I put them down as a current asset there too. The part that, we'll just go through this, but the part I will say on the rental account, the $22,066.62 is the part that Steve was talking about, and whenever I get through with the balance sheet and income statement, I will address that. The long-term assets, the last time I did one of these, we had someone that questioned where we were at with the foundation. So I've added as long-term assets the AGR National Educational Foundation of $27,000 and change, and then the SIU Foundation Scholarship Fund of $18,000. So we had long-term assets of $28,945.38 in those 2 scholarship funds as of June 30th. Total assets of $71,000. Like I said, that might be a little misstated because of the deal with the chapter. But I'm showing at that time a net worth of $71,380.43 with no liabilities. If you look back at the income statement for the year from July 1st to June 30th, the rent we took in, and this is what all I have to go by is the stuff that comes from Omega is ACH'd into our rental account at the bank. So all I'm seeing is for that year we took in $63,409.81. If you look down at expenses, the top one on expenses, Schilling property, $3,800 a month for 12 months is $45,600. That's the difference right there as to, and I'm not complaining because whenever I started as treasurer, we were having trouble. It was negative sometimes. I wasn't getting enough money from Omega at times to pay Schilling the rent. Sometimes I had to go out to the escrow account and actually transfer funds in order to make that. So I wasn't complaining about the fact we were getting more money than what we were paying the rent. You see some of the other ones there, the membership dues. We had some from 18 of $500, and then Tad just collected for 19 of $10,950. The Hawaiian raffle, the total income was $9,500. We did have some donations there. And then last year we had the summer meeting. Some of our registration was actually paid prior to June 30th, so that showed our income there. Some of the stuff, expenses, other than, like I said, the rental, we had Austin Miller did some work for us last year over the summer of $225 and did some mailings for $142.45. Twyford Barbecue and Catering did our meal last year at summer meeting. And then we had donations that went to the foundation. Was basically, there were some refunds back of people that are registered for the summer meeting and just said that they would just go ahead and donate it. The same way with Dewey, Tom, and I were on the committee last year. Our reimbursements, we just had that sent to National too. And Matt McMullen was the first prize winner in the Hawaiian raffle. He donated $500 of his winnings to the scholarship fund. And then the board voted to send $6,000 to National from basically the membership dues that Tad had collected to put us over the $25,000 and get the endowment going. Had some premium there for directors and officers insurance and our fidelity bond and convention fee. Then we've got there the stuff that the $3,070.77 that we prepaid for the anniversary, the 50th anniversary, that's listed there. Rick's Story, some mailing costs, and then we've got the last year's Hawaiian raffle, which was done after the end of this fiscal year. Terry Abrock got that again. And then the $1,500 was the amount that Matt took less the $500 he took above there. And then I paid Rick Hyatt for his cost on that. And then I will say that the Beta Alpha chapter, the luncheon of $941.63, that check was mailed to the chapter. It was lost in the mail. In April, when I visited the chapter, I hand delivered a second check, and it's never been cashed. So that's just a little comment there. So that's still an outstanding check that I've got. But I showed net income of $22,528.54 for that year. I did go back and Steve wanted me to kind of see where we were at on this, so I've gone back and looked at the last 4 years as far as rental income and rental expense. As you see on the report there, our difference over the last year was $17,809.81. Year previous to that, we took in rental income of $48,524.55 and paid out $45,600 for a net of $2,924.55. So over the last 2 years, it was $20,734.36. Year previous to that, from July 1 of 16 to June 30 of 17, we took in income of $48,643.75 and had expense of $45,400. That's before the rent went up. We had a net of $3,243.75. From July 1 of 15 to June 30th of 16, we took in $38,529.89 and paid out $43,200 for a net loss of $4,670.11. So if you take the last 4 years, I come out with a net of $19,303 that we've been overpaid. The hard thing about that is sometimes you got people that are paying, they might be paying on a monthly basis, they might be paying on a semester basis where they're paying Omega the full semester, they might be paying, they might have owed last time and be paying in arrears. You know, as far as that goes, it's hard to keep track of exactly, and I feel it's not my place as treasurer of the Alumni Association to see who's paying their bills at Carbondale. My job is, and I think it's probably Keith can attest to that whenever he was treasurer, you collect from the chapter pays you the money, you in turn at that time, you were paying the university, I'm paying Schilling. That's the way I look at it. If I got money in there to pay the bills, I'm doing fine. I don't think it's up to me to police the chapter as to who owes their house bill and who doesn't. That's my comment.
Well, we've taken some steps to work with the chapter to see that they work with Omega to make sure that this doesn't happen. You know, what was happening there was they were buying t-shirts and other things, and all that money was going into Omega, in which they were paying a percentage on to Omega for administration. So they're losing money there. But Omega was turning around because of turnover and other things, they were just sending all that money to us. So I think we've got steps in place now, or we'll have, where the only thing that Omega's gonna send us is the rent, and that's all we want, is just the pass-through money for the rent. So anyway, we're gonna send that excess money back to the chapter. They were complaining because they didn't have any money to pay any bill with, and understandably so, all that money was coming to us. So anyway, we'll take care of it. Any questions, comments, anything for Jim's treasury report?
Just out of curiosity, what's the cost, you know, for each brother to live in the house per month? I mean, what's the cost?
The rent, this next year, they're charging for rent and utilities about $320 a month.
What's it total for the year? How many months would that be?
Well, I mean, that's a 12-month lease.
Oh, 12 months.
It's a 12-month lease. Once they sign up, it's carried, because we have to pay Schilling for 12 months. So they just take that 12 months and into the total and come up with a monthly rent that they have to pay. Any other questions, comments?
We're paying Schilling $3,800 a month as well on a 12-month contract. So first of every month I send them $3,800, no matter whether they've sent me, you know, I've got it in here where the amount I'm getting ACH, I might get 8 deposits a month, I might get 3, I might get 10, you know, and I don't know what the amount's gonna be. I can check it at work every day and see if it's coming in or not. I don't know who's paid. It's always an odd amount because they're sending so much to Omega. Omega's taking their 3% or 2.5%, whatever theirs is off the top. They're ACHing me the difference into the account.
But it is the chapter's responsibility to make sure that we get the full rent each month. If somebody's behind, it's up to them to get the money to pay us. So that's the reason in the past we've gone ahead and went into the rear like 4 years ago. We had to find the money because the chapter didn't have it. And so, but they have caught up, and that's the reason looking at this on an annual basis is a lot clearer for us than trying to do it monthly, because you do have once in a while one of the brothers that's in the arrears and doesn't make payment, but they normally will catch up. So,
Go ahead, Tom.
Question for you, Jim. So we send them a check for $19,000. What are they going to do with it? Are they going to distribute it back to the members based on their overpayments, or how? What it's really beyond our purview, but what's the mechanics of what they're going to do with the money?
I talked to Tim about that, the Nova Ruler, and I suggested that they get their bills paid and caught up, and then take residual of that money and put in a reserve account. That way, if they do have a brother that's delinquent or something, they can pay it, and they can cover things. Or if they have an unexpected bill of some type. So they don't have a reserve account now, and so they'll take at least part of that money and put in a reserve account.
My only comment to that is, I'm not sending them a check. I want wiring instructions. I will wire the funds to their account at their bank, because I'm not gonna have another check lost in the mail or lost by whoever else I gave it to and stuff. I want it cleared off my books and be back to where we're supposed to be at. I don't want an outstanding check, and I mean, I don't know if you wanna, you know, do we get a new business, you wanna entertain a motion as to if we're sending them directly that amount, or what we're gonna send them, or how you wanna do that, I mean.
Well, I mean, we owe it to them. I don't know that it requires a motion. I think the executive order can take care of paying it back. But if you want, somebody wants to make a motion to pay that money back, we can take care of that way. It's on the books.
Want that now, Jim? Just
What?
for finance?
What?
Want that motion now, or do you want it in new business?
Let's go ahead and take care of it now.
I'll make that motion that we reverse the chapter.
Okay, we have a second?
I'll second.
You want to put the amount in there, basically the $19,000?
Whatever you spit out, I will.
I got $19,303, that's over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to.
And it ACHs.
I want it wired to them, and
Okay.
if it costs us $20 on our end, it's well worth it, because I'm not gonna have a check lost in the mail like it's been, or fail to get deposited when it's hand delivered.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay.
You can carry forward.
So someone will contact me with wiring instructions.
Well, I'll talk to Tim to get that.
Okay. So there went 19,000 of our net worth, so. We're still positive, we're still in the black.
This 19,000, who's that going to, like the students you need down there, or who's that going to?
Well, that's what Steve was just directing, that it's gonna go to the house to pay their bills and then do a reserve. Yeah.
Look, I talked to Tim about that, and he thought that was a good idea too, so. But they
I guess
do have
our
some bills that are pending that they have to get paid.
I guess our alumni advisor can see that, he can kind of see that some of that takes place.
I mean, personally, in my opinion, if we're giving that back to the chapter, it belongs to the chapter, and the chapter needs to make a smart, long-term decision of savings and putting that aside for a rainy day versus doing what college kids may or may not do. So,
Yeah, I haven't been back to the house, I haven't seen this new house for a long time. How many members are we talking about now?
Okay, I've got a little chapter report here that I'll cover here in a minute, so. Anything else from the treasury report? Okay, we don't have anybody, well, Mike's here representing the chapter, but I did, talk to Tim Weber, the Noble Ruler, and he couldn't be here, but he did send me a letter that I will read to you. It was a brief summary of the chapter summer meeting, which they had on the 14th of July. They had kind of a retreat, and they conducted some business and whatever. For the fall semester approaching, we have 27 active members. Recruitment will be front and center of our priorities, as many members brought names and numbers of potential new members to the meeting to give to our recruitment chair, Blake. I believe already in July we have a list of 5 to 6 names for recruitment, way ahead of any normal year. We are also looking to change up some of our activities for Rush Week. We discussed homecoming and how we can incorporate our 50th along with the school's 150th. We also decided to do some homecoming with the Alpha Gamma Delta sorority and maybe Sigma Alpha to make the amount of people work out better. We will also be adding another philanthropy event for the fall. Alpha Gamma Delta reached out to us about doing a cornhole tournament for St. Jude's. This will be November 25th. Our activities chair also brought several dates and opportunities to put on the calendar for community service opportunities. We will be doing again several large community joint projects. Lastly, from our house manager, he discussed some house repair projects we will be doing that are low cost, such as room door replacements, new benches, tables for the house, new vents, and smoke monitors. We also discussed the new alcohol policy that will be adopted nationwide by all Greek life on September 8th. And that was from Tim Weber, the current Noble Ruler. The alcohol policy, if you're interested, is that there can be no kegs, no 5-gallon buckets of beer in the house, and there can be no, effective September 1, there can be no hard liquor. So it can still be a wet house with beer and wine, but that's basically to the extent of it. And that's nationwide. Also, Tim mentions the recruitment. They do need to do a lot of recruiting because the end of this coming school year, they will lose 16 brothers out of the house. So they need out of the 27, so they do need to do a lot of recruiting. And so that's where we can help if we know of some
Steve, I know we talked about this on the last conference probably needs to be brought out with the general guys, membership that's here to understand that we've had recruiting restrictions in the past, right, Mike? You could not recruit
From the university, yes.
12 months out of the year, like unlimited recruitment, but now that has been taken off the books, and you can, we as the chapter as a whole can recruit 365 now, where we weren't able to do that.
So if
in
you
years
know,
gone by.
you know some students that are going to Southern and you think they'd make a good brother, make sure you contact them, talk to them, let us know or let the chapter know that person's coming down so they can talk to them and visit with them.
And from a recruitment standpoint, just so everyone's aware, it's not the fact that we are getting a less of a percentage of students that we normally recruit. Total university enrollment right now is somewhere between 10 and 11,000 students. So SIU is struggling for recruitment for a whole. So that's where the main part of our problem is coming from. So.
And that wasn't just the chapter, that was Greek life in total. Now, are the sororities still on restriction, or did I read where they got?
I don't know about the sororities.
I think they still have some sort of restriction, but it's not as open as what the fraternities are now.
One thing I might mention from that housing trust committee that came in, we had the provost and the dean of students come and visit with the people, and one of the questions I asked in terms, and I know a lot of you have this question because since we moved out of 116, a lot of you have been saying, well, we need to have our own chapter house again. The one on Poplar there is Freeman, whatever the street is. It only holds 12 to 14 people, so we'd like to, some of us would like to have a house. What can we do, and what's the university plans for a new Greek Row? All the old Greek Row, my understanding, at some point is going to be torn down. But the Dean of Students said that they are looking at right west of the communications building. They've started the idea of having some, I think they had named 4 sororities that they were going to build houses around there. And they made a comment that they would entertain that if the Alpha Gamma Rho's would like to build a house out there, they could join that group. But there's a lot to be said on that as to be done before that ever starts. University's got to get some money and some other things. I don't know what the situation would be in terms of owning the house. A lot of that has to be determined, but that's the question I asked to the Dean of Students and the Provost, and that's all they could tell me at that time. So with that, let's...
I have something to report, an active report. I also attended that meeting with People National, and like I said, the Provost, Dean of Students was there. And we are considered to be the #1 fraternity on campus by the Dean of Students and by the university. And we are in very good graces with the university. And she says, a lot of them cause their problems, we don't. So that's not that we don't, few things don't happen once in a while, but that's...
Yeah, and she made that comment at Founders too. So it's not just a one-time shot. She's made that statement publicly on a couple of occasions. So that's very good to hear.
Now, one comment that I've heard from Susan Graham, a lot of you know Susan, she's the assistant to the dean with the college bag. And she's told me on numerous occasions that if she needs somebody to get something done, she calls the AGRs to get it done. And that's even as she is the farmhouse advisor. So that says a lot for our chapter, for what they're doing there. So, also, our chapter did very well last year at the All Ag Banquet. They came in second with the outstanding organization, resident student organization. I thought they should have won that, but Farmhouse did. But I think you'll see this year, with what they've got planned, that they will compete very well for that prize.
Let me just mention homecoming. Of course, we've won the big float, gone to us, what, the last 6 years? And since I quit farming, they've got lots of room in my machine shed to build it, so that helps out. I don't know whether we'd want to ever put anything in the homecoming parade since it's our 50th anniversary or anything like that. The board might want to think about that. I got a wagon that we could throw something on. our folk when that's, going through, but just kind of a thought.
What's the date for homecoming, Jay?
It's week of the 19th or something like that of October.
October, yeah.
And there will be some activities. I'm gonna cover that when I cover their SIU update, so we'll talk about that a little bit. Let's go on. Ron Brohammer's gonna talk a little bit about what we have planned for the 50th celebration. And so he'll be the guy to ask at what's going on, questions. So Ron, it's yours.
Just well include a float in that deal at the house.
Might as well.
That'd be a deal and a half. Well, I always hate to start out a presentation with an apology, but I have two apologies. Had no idea we'd have this many folks attending today, so I've not got nearly enough handouts for everybody. But worse than that was these were in a bag in the car, and a cup of soda got in the bag, and so when I arrived here yesterday, they were soaked, and I was not happy. But don't bring that up to Judy, because she wasn't happy either.
Her soda or yours?
Hers. No. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll pass these around, and about maybe every 2 or 3 of you grab one and take them and share them, so everybody will have a chance to at least see about what I'm talking about. The first thing there I'm passing out is the discussion items, the things I want to talk about today. So slip those on around, and maybe we'll get here. We are planning a 3-day weekend for the 28th, the 29th of February, and the 1st of March 2020 in Carbondale. And so we've got a lot of activities that are planned, and I'll pass these out around. And again, same thing, there are 2 or 3 or 4 people, whatever, take one, take a look at it. I'm going to go through in fair detail of what we are planning to do. Thursday, February 27th will be early arrival for those that really want to look around Carbondale and kind of relive some of your old memories. I suspect that most of the folks will arrive sometime on Friday the 28th. We're going to set up some campus tours with the student body, the active or undergrad. We have to call them undergraduates now because we're all active, right? So anyway, the undergraduates are going to have some campus tours. There'll be 2 tours if we have enough folks. One at 9 o'clock and one at 2 o'clock, and they'll meet in the Starbucks in the Student Center for that. And Judy and I are going to sponsor or guide or whatever a wine trail tour for those that are interested in, as I guess everybody knows, but there's a boatload of wineries in the Carbondale area now. When I was a student, if somebody would tell me there would be wineries there in the future, I would have thought they were totally crazy. But there's some pretty nice wineries. We're going to plan on visiting 4 of them. We'll meet in the Holiday Inn parking lot about 11:30 and carpool for that. Now we're only leading the wine tour. We're not buying the wine, so you got to bring your own money. The All-Lake Banquet, for those that will be attending that, will of course be in the University Student Center Friday night. You have to get advanced reservations for that, and those of course are through the School of Agriculture. For those that don't wish to attend that, I think everybody's probably familiar with Fat Bottom Betty's in the Holiday Inn, or adjacent to the Holiday Inn there in Carbondale. So somewhere around 7:30 or so, or 7, you can gather at Fat Bottom Betty's, and hopefully there'll be folks that do attend the All-Lake Banquet that will come by there probably a little after 9 or so when the All-Lake Banquet is over, as it typically is. Saturday, February 29th, ironically, that's a leap year, and it's interesting that it turns out on the 29th of February, but that's when our Founders Day banquet's going to be held. We'll start out with a meeting in the AG Auditorium, not in we've normally had the conference room, but we're anticipating a good turnout, so that will be in the AG Auditorium. We'll have the typical coffee and pastries in our business meeting. And then at noontime, we're going to have a gathering out at Walker's Bluff. It's a winery that's north of the Holiday Inn. It's really a neat place. We'll have a luncheon there, and the ladies, of course, will be invited and hopefully be able to attend that. That'll wrap up about 2:30 or so, and folks can stay there and do whatever they want. And then our banquet will start at 5:30. It will be in the University Student Center. We'll have a happy hour, about an hour and a half happy hour. Of course, there's a cash bar. We'll have a photographer. We'll have a opportunity for formal pictures if you would like, whatever, that sort of thing. We'll also have a silent auction. Hopefully we'll get some several folks to donate some items, whatever it might be, anyway from a gift basket or whatever you might want to do. The banquet will hopefully start on time at 7 o'clock, and we'll have that, a guest speaker. We'll also, that'll be our presentation of our first alumni award or from the fund that we've established. We think we'll have I know we'll have $500 available for that. So we've got a little committee that's got to figure out how we're going to select a person to receive that. And then dancing and DJ for the rest of the evening. And then a breakfast and farewell will be at the Giant City Lodge the next morning. That's been kind of a fun thing we've done in the past, and hopefully we'll get a good trip out there. So that's really quite a weekend that we've got planned. The next thing I want to do, and this is mostly for information, and this will be on the, or already is, I think, on our website. If it's not, it will be. But those are hotels that we've made arrangements for. Again, take just one of those for every 2 or 3 people. This is just kind of for information now. But those are the hotels that we have available for you, and I think they have a group rate. If you tell them what you're there for and whatnot, they'll give that group rate to everybody for the 3 days of the weekend.
And Ron, if I may inject, you might call the hotels direct.
Yes.
Don't go through their national lines.
Yep.
Because of one of the hotels, if you go through the national line, you won't get that rate if you go in early. You might for the Friday and Saturday, but not if you come in on Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, definitely call direct, because I suspect if you call their line, they won't know you from a load of hay.
Yeah.
Although I think some of them.
Because I've already made my reservation, and I compared that to the government rate, and calling them direct was better than government rate online. So
Some of them may, when you call, may refer you directly, but you've got the phone numbers there, and again, those will be posted on our website. Are they already on the website? I thought they were. They're already on, so it's no problem. This next list is a group of folks that have been working with me on this celebration, and it's really been we've really had a lot of great effort, a lot of great work has gone into this deal. I want to talk now a little bit about our. Let's see, do I yet want to talk about our mementos and so forth that we have? And they were mentioned earlier, but I think all of you have seen the glassware and such that we've got here. We've got shirts, and some of you, I'm glad to see, are wearing shirts. We've got 2 different kinds of polos. One is a little bit more expensive than the other. One's a smooth material, a tighter knit, a tighter weave, and the other one's a little bit looser. We've got a hoodie that's on there, and we've got a cap. And then my all-time favorite, of course, is the coins, which some of you have purchased. And like everything, we're hopefully making a little bit of profit on these things. And 2 things will happen from that. First of all, Bill Hodner, as was mentioned, has agreed to provide a $5,000 match if we get up to $5,000 in sales. And that money will go into our SIU scholarship fund. Not the one through AGR. So that will really set that fund up for a long time. That's not to say that we don't want to continue soliciting funds and whatnot to continue to build that fund, but that's really great. So we're really grateful to Bill for doing that. So anyway, the mementos are all on the website and can be ordered, although the clothing has to be kind of ordered in increments because of the way the company that manufactures them, because they don't just sit down, oh, here's an order, let's build a shirt. So when they get X numbers of orders for each item, then they will assemble those and ship them out. Your payment will go directly to them. They're sorting out the funds for them and then sending us whatever the excess might be. The coins, I have all the coins at this time. You can order the coins through our website. And then when I get your names and whatnot and money, then I'll mail you the coin if I don't sell it. Hopefully I'll sell you coins this weekend, I'll get rid of them. Probably not all those. But going down through here, you see the items that the folks have been working on various things. I wanted Tom Meyer, if you would a little bit talk about our plans and our menu for the Walker's Bluff and for the buffet or for the Saturday night celebration. Just a quick overview.
So for our 12:30 lunch at Walker's Bluff, it would just be kind of a light lunch salad type item. We don't want to stuff ourselves knowing that we got a pretty big event going on that night at the Student Center. The Student Center, it is going to be, I think, a world-class meal, and it's going to be a pasta serving station. They're going to have a chicken dish, they're going to have a steak, and there's also going to be a fish item. It's going to be basically kind of a, per se, maybe a white tablecloth type event. The food is being catered into the event. The Student Center no longer serves the food like they did back many, many years ago. So they have approved vendors, and the supplier we're going to go with is Garden Catering, and they're going to be doing that work for us. And they have promised to put on a first-class event. And just as a quick sidebar, they are going to have a serving for Ron Brohammer and a couple of other folks in early August, and we're going to head down to Carbondale, and we're going to taste the food that they're going to be serving us at the 50th. So it should be kind of an interesting affair to kind of see what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and it'll give us a chance to kind of make sure that everything they're telling us they're going to do, they will do. So, but it'll be a very, very nice affair. We hope to have at least 250 people at that event. I think we're on track for that right now, but we're going to need some basic recruitment from the people in the room here to help us get to that number. You know, and it's going to have to be really kind of talking it up and really kind of making it a very open, inviting event. So I think it's going to be a very, very nice affair. The food is good, and it's not going to be a cheap event, but we think it'll be a memorable meal with a classy act. Thank you.
Yeah, that's I really want to emphasize what he said there. We're really looking for a first-class memorable event, because I think for most of us, a 50th anniversary celebration is probably going to occur only once in our lifetimes. So, but Tom's done a great effort on that. He's done the work setting up our photographer and as well as our menu and catering and our DJ, and so that's looking great. Hotel reservations, Steve Wyatt has handled those, and that's the handout that I gave you that's got these. He's, I think, worked some pretty good deals with the various hotels and so forth. Our keynote speaker is going to be Jerry Krill, and Greg Webb is working on that. Greg's also working on some sponsor recruitment to help offset some of our costs. Rick Hyatt's working on the anniversary. I keep bugging Rick, and of course in Rick's inimitable manner, he wants to give me 25 pages, and I want a page. I want a page of 50-year summary to go in our program for the evening to kind of cap the highlights. Of course, campus tours, the undergrads, and the wine tour trail I talked about. Al Osterland is working on the silent auction. So if you would like to be a contributor or whatnot, contact Al directly, or hopefully he'll be getting some information out. I spoke with him the other day. He's a farmer. What are you going to say? You know, what are you going to do? It's been a tough year. He's working hard on that. So getting that lined up and what his plan is. Tony Tracy's taken on the notion of trying to do some outreach, make some personal grassroots efforts, and I think that, at least my view of the world is that works with him, working with all of you guys. If you've got an old friend or an old that you haven't heard from in 5 years or a few years or even last week, call them and urge them to come to this gathering. And Tony's spearheading that plan. And Dewey Grammett's going to lead us in about a 25-minute prayer and kind of recap the last
Lots to be
few
thankful
years.
for.
And And then invitations, and we're going to, we're not going, don't feel bad if you don't get an invitation. We are going to mail out invitations, but only to kind of a select few. I kind of estimated maybe 20 or 25 folks. If there's someone that you think we should specifically invite, maybe maybe one of the house mothers or whatnot is still available, that would be a great notion to send a personal invitation to. We're talking about whether the chancellor or whomever. We haven't got that nailed down yet. So I'm going to pass around. This is what the invitation I think will look like with an RSV card. So these will be formal invitations that will only go to a handful of people. But if you've got someone that you think we ought to invite, pass it on to me or Steve. We've got just kind of the leadership in the organization working on those, Rick or Rick Story, so we can get the invitation sent out as appropriate. So that's kind of the overview of what's going on. I think we're going to have a really great weekend, and if this turnout for this summer meeting is any indication of what we'll have, it ought to be really great. As Tom mentioned, I'd like to have at least 250, 300 seats in the auditorium, and the banquet hall would really be a thrill if we could get that many folks out. We're sitting at right close to 1,000 members in our alumni association. So if we could get, if we get 300 people, probably close to half of those will be spouses or whatever. But right now we've got 72 alumni have indicated they want to attend for a total sign up of 134 people. So we're about halfway there already. Now realizing this is just an intent to attend, not cash on the barrelhead yet. Our material and clothing wise, glass wise, we've sold $2,370 worth, and that of course is not counting. We've already sold several items here this weekend. So all of this has been through. We've been working with the board and has been approved, and we've discussed it in pretty significant detail, and one face-to-face meeting and a couple of telephone conferences. So we're not just flying by the seat of our pants here. I hope we've got a pretty good plan and can really execute, and hope to see every one of you and lots of others. Are there any questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions? Yes?
The only thing I had, Ron, was whatever you were talking about, that with the scholarship, that this time we only have like $500 endowment or something. I think that if we, going forward, we're looking about doing a $1,000 scholarship, I would entertain a motion from the board that we end up taking 500 from Tadge's account, matching it with the 500 from the endowment, and actually doing a $1,000 scholarship this going and then going forward, there should be enough in the endowment to do that. Well, starting out and saying it's gonna be 1,000 instead of just 500, because this is our first one. Let's do it right. I mean, that's my opinion on it.
I understand. I guess another thought would be this is the first one, and this is the one that's generated by that fund, and let's use those funds for that. That said, at least in my mind, this initially this is kind of this is the first one out of the barrel. Okay. And so,
either way you want to look at it.
And I think probably the board, we can probably discuss that or whatever, but I understand your point. I've had several different suggestions, and even how we're going to make that presentation. How much do we give to the freshmen or the junior and sophomore?
500.
So those are 500. So
let me recommend that the scholarship committee kick that around, and what they make a recommendation, and have them make a recommendation to the board on.
Yeah, I just want to.
And for those of you that don't understand what TAG's money is the voluntary alumni dues that are separate from everything else. That was kind of for lack of a better, bailout fund that we had when we were having major financial trouble with, when we had land bought and sitting and not knowing what to do with, and so that was the bailout fund, for lack of a better term. So that is still in existence and is an optional, so that's what the tag money is, for those guys that didn't realize that.
You wonder why he asked that or proposed it. I'm the chairman of the scholarship committee too, so we've been working on trying to get that all sorted out. So, but in any case, it's exciting, and that scholarship to me, that's the culmination of 50 years. Elar and I've been kicking this around for a long, long time, and finally get to that point where we have that endowment established, and that as long as there is a beta alpha at SIU from henceforth into eternity, unless the whole financial market collapses, that scholarship will be there because it's endowed. The way it works is you get a minimum of $25,000 deposited, then it generates roughly 4% every year. The only reason we only have 500 now is because we didn't reach that 25,000 until the end of second quarter this year. So that's why it's 500 right now. But that said, I want us to continue building that fund. I'd like to see us at some point in time have, who knows, $100,000 or whatever in that fund. It's a great thing. It can be used for anything that's quote unquote related to education. It can be used for leadership training for the officers in the class, in the fraternity. It can be used to buy computers or books or whatever. It can't be used to build a house, but that's another story. Any other questions or comments?
Does it have to be used? Can it be, if you don't have something to use it for, it can just go back as interest?
Just let it build. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's a bail is the terminology. All right, thanks very much.
Thank you, Ron.
You bet.
Next on our agenda, or my agenda, we've talked about engagement. How do we get more of our alumni brothers involved in activities and not feel like when they come, when you come you're going to be asked for money or this or that. How do we get more people to come? And so Tom Meyer and Taj Davis have been working on this. Our alumni board, we've agreed that we need to resurrect our districts. And so Tom and Taj have been working on getting district directors. And Tom, go ahead and give us a little bit of what you guys have planned.
I had a 30-year career in the consumer packaged goods industry, and the expression always was, if it happens at retail. And with that in mind, the philosophy that Taj and I are taking is that by regrouping and reorganizing these districts, we can get kind of a closer touch, closer feel connection to people within smaller geographies. So with that in mind, all the work had been done and organized where we had people categorized according to certain districts, certain geographies in Illinois and across the United States. And there are 22 districts across the United States. And so Taj and I took a look at each of these geographies, and we just tried to tap into some people that we could ask to kind of help bring a local, more closer connection to Alpha Gamma Rho and Beta Alpha chapter. And we have largely succeeded with getting 22 directors for each of these different areas. One of the different approaches that we took this time versus previous times is we're working to try to get in most areas a director and sort of like a co-director so that they can share the work, and that way if somebody leaves, we have somebody in place to help us kind of continue the message. So the big overall overarching comment here is we want to make Beta Alpha, Alpha Gamma Rho closer to the people that live within a geography. And they will be charged, the directors will be charged with trying to build connectivity, build engagement, and maybe occasionally once a year have a social event that brings people together. For the younger generation, one of the things that's going to be key to making this work is to show value. And one of the ways we can show value through Alpha Gamma Rho is to help people network. and networking has never been more important than it is now to help people get jobs, get ahead in lives. So with that in mind, I just wanted to quickly read off who we have. Some of the people are in this room, and I want to thank you in advance for helping me out here and being willing to step up. This is a thing that's going to kind of grow, it's going to kind of develop. We don't have an exact idea how it's going to work, but we're going to sure try. So, real quickly, number one, which is Northwestern Illinois, we have an opening. Number two, we have Don Knepp, Tony Tracy, Rick Hyatt. 5 is Tadge Davis. Number 6 is Jeff Brown. 7 is Don Gwinnett. J.R. Podest, John Finley. Number 10 is open. 11 is Bob Kiesecombs, that's Southern Illinois. Corey Hudson, Scott Welch will be covering like North and South Carolina. Rick Godke and possibly Dan Sexton are going to do that Florida, Georgia area. Carl Bradley, Steve Corzine's going to do, I believe it's going to be in Indiana area. 17 is open. 18 is open. 19 is going to be Tom Meyer and Ron Brohammer. And the way we're going to build that model, just for a little bit of deeper explanation, is I'm taking the eastern half of Missouri, and Ron is going to take the western half of Missouri and Kansas. Number 20 is Dan Zwicker and Chuck Schaub, and Chuck and Dan are going to kind of split the state up of Texas and try to do that. Good luck on that. Good luck. Number 21 is Matt Reedy, and I have to give Matt a lot of credit. Matt came back to me the other day, and he's already sent an email out to the people in Oregon and California, and sent a note out to everybody, and he has already started the process of what our vision is of these directors. And number 22 is Dave Snyder. And so it's probably not going to happen exactly according to plan, but we think that building it and making it happen at retail is what we need to try to do to build it up. And does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Anyway, I just want to give you a little update on SIU. I know there's been some comments made about enrollment and whatever. I might point out that Rick Hyatt and myself serve on the SIU Alumni Association National Board of Directors. We're also fortunate to have Greg Webb, one of our brothers, serve on not only with the National AGR board, but also on the SIU Foundation board. So we do have a lot of contacts within the university. As many of you know, that we do have a lot of actors at the university level, interims. We have an interim president, we have an interim chancellor, we have an interim provost, and right now we don't have even an interim dean. Karen Midden retired, so I think August 15th they'll be looking to start an interim dean of the College of Ag search. With that said, John Groninger from Forestry and Ira Altman are acting associate deans for the time being, and Dean Ishman from the College of Science also helps out with the college with the administration and those types of things. Reorg for the university is still going on that Chancellor Montemagno started. Several of the reorganizations have taken place. The College of Ag and Science, which is scheduled, was delayed. It now is scheduled to happen in January. However, that could still be delayed. From what I understand, science is kind of dragging their feet on that a little bit, as well as many of the ag people, because many of us would like to keep the College of Ag separate. If nothing else, the School of Agriculture, and keep it from having to be merged with science. But we'll have to wait and see what happens on that one. But as I said, it's scheduled for January, but it could be delayed. As Mike pointed out, the enrollment is down considerably this fall. would be the lowest it's been, you know, our lifetimes practically. I know when I was there, we were up at about 24,000 on the college campus here at Carbondale, and it's now between 10 and 11. The anticipation is that that will go up. The one reason it's down is because the graduating seniors are larger than this freshman class coming in, but that should start to build in the future. SIU, as well as some of the other colleges within the state of Illinois, did get a 5.5% budget increase. That should help as far as staffing and some other things. Along with that was $2.5 million appropriated for the 2 greenhouses, one at ag and one in biology. As I understand it, $1.5 million of that will go to the College of Ag greenhouse. However, even though it's been budgeted, it hasn't been allocated, appropriated, whatever the term is, so they can't start doing anything until it goes through that process. We talked about homecoming events being planned for the College of Ag. There will be some things that will come out later. Susan said that she would get, as they get their plans, will they have a reception? They're going to do something in the old reading room, which now they call the Rockle Room. One thing she did ask me, and Shane Bennett, the foundation rep, they're planning a 95th birthday party during that time for Dr. Bill Dorr. Many of you know Dr. Dorr. He'll be turning 95, and they're going to have a activity. Bill was initiated in the Beta Alpha chapter in February of 1979. He's got pin number 248. So I think it'd be appropriate if we would also be involved in that 95th celebration of some type. So we as a board will discuss that. If you have any ideas of what we could do to help Bill celebrate his 95th birthday, let us know. But that's one thing we'll be talking about, what we can do. The College of Ag will be staffing a tent at the Illinois State Fair on Ag Day on the 13th of August. If anybody wants to assist in helping staff that tent, let Susan know at the College of Ag. And then the College of Ag also has a Farm Progress Show booth set up. And I don't know if there's going to be, in the past they've had a social. Susan didn't know whether there'd be a social this year or not, but she said more information will be coming out on that. So anyway, let me go into any other old business we've got. We've been running a long time here, so anything else in old business? Any new business we need to talk about?
Is there been are you gonna make any efforts to try to get money to build a house there, or get money for it, or somebody get out of paying rent?
Well, that's something we've got, you know, on some of us on our sites. When is the right time to do that? You notice so far our monies, our net worth is pretty low. We need to build that up before we really get too far, but we can start looking at it if we have enough interest. It's going to take a lot of money to do that. And the AGR National said that they would help us in the planning process. But I do think a lot of people would like to see us have a new house, but it may be a little premature to do a whole lot other than just look at what we can do down the road, what type of a house, etc. But that will take a lot of monetary commitment on a lot of people.
The would be, said the last time it was, I don't know how many you got members, you got 8,000. Let's say 800, we might be allowed to get, may not have that many now, because we've got many chapter numbers. But if you had 800 people, if they gave $500 each, that's $400,000. That would be enough to get most of the pay for it.
No. Well, probably not. So that house, I don't know what the costs were, but I think it would exceed over half. You need most of that money pledged. I mean, we ran through.
Buy the existing house.
Pardon me?
Buy the existing house they have now, because you could still double the size of that adding on to the back of it. Yeah.
I'm not sure we can get that, it's possible. I mean, Shelley may want, but he owns half Carbondale, so I'm not sure he wants to part with anything.
Yeah, and I would think if they're really using enrollment, maybe the price might come down in the Carbondale.
And we talked about that, Ron, and I talked about that when we were down there before, that, you know, now would be a good time to maybe look at that, but we better have some resources. But nothing says we can't plan on it. And that's one of the things we've discussed a little bit in the board is what can we do, what should we do. We do have a housing committee that was appointed 2 or 3 years ago, wasn't it, Ron? We haven't done anything, but we've got some people that's on that. So anyway, we'll take that and we'll start looking at it. And one of the things that I've jotted down is goals for the future, and that's one of the things that we will be looking at.
And this is kind of a different thing. But now the College of Agriculture, is it down enrollment too or not? Or
Yeah.
It is.
It's not down as drastic as some of the other.
Because I thought that's almost more like a trade school. And even if the rest of the university went down, they might still.
It held up there very well for a while, but it's gone down. The budget, as well as some of the bad press that the university was getting, caused a lot of those College of Ag kids to want to go to Murray or elsewhere. So, but, you know, the College of Ag is doing a good job of recruiting. We had the thing at Beck's a week ago, and we had some prospective students come to that. That's one of the things that they're trying to do is recruit students via those type of venues. And we got 4 students there that I think are going to be looking at coming to SIU.
Steve, real quickly, maybe good to share with the group that what SIU is doing with housing and the towers with the single rooms. That probably provide interest for the group.
Yeah, one tower, as I understand it, they were scheduled to close it. They were going to tear all 3 of those down, but they're going to keep one of those open. Now they're going to have students, they come in for individual rooms instead of having to share a room with somebody, and that's helped some too. They feel that helps the people coming in.
It's
and
created quite a buzz
willing to enroll.
in terms of enrollment at SIU to give everybody a single room.
Yeah, Jake?
You want to mention that the College of Ag does have the 2 dorms in Thompson Point with single rooms right now.
Yeah.
So you might.
And some of those dorms, when we went there with the Housing Resource Trust Committee, there was a room there that was double occupancy too. So I think there's options.
Well, they're changing them all.
Yeah. Okay, anything else under new business? If not, I just want to encourage everybody to attend the 50th. I also want to encourage you or challenge you. If you've got a pledge brother or somebody you haven't seen for years, give them a call. Encourage them to show up. We'd like to make this a big event. I think it will be. Ron has done a tremendous job planning this, and I think we'll have a good turnout, but we want to get as many people there, brothers, as we can. So, take time. You've thought about, somebody you haven't talked to for a long time. Pick up the phone, give them a call, and encourage them to attend. So, anything else we need to bring up? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second? Second. Been moved to second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And before you leave, Dale, you have anything else? Yep. Okay.
We want to go over the rest of the afternoon. We're kind of running late here a little bit, I think, so I just want to be pretty fast. So just for planning purposes, so we have 2 events planned this afternoon, both basically starting at 1:30. First of all, lunch. When we're done here, I think Rick wants to have a picture of the whole group. So right when we're done, before we go to lunch, let's just find a spot here in the corner or something and get that taken care of. Lunch, we have a light lunch plan. As you exit here, just right around the corner in the breakfast area, it's all set up. It's just some sandwiches and chips and, like I say, kind of a light lunch. You can bring that back in here or sit out there, either way. We do have water out there, but all your other drinks, just come in here and please kind of give the people some business here, since it's on us. You're not paying for that, so take care of that. The 2 events that we have planned this afternoon, the brainstorm escapes. Both of these we kind of plan on leaving around 1:30. So the brainstorm escapes for the people. I'm just going to read this off real fast for those that have registered for that. Includes Mike Schultz, 2 people, Wayne Pletty, 2 people, Bill Bradney, 1 person, Chuck Schaub, 2 people, Rick Story, 1, Dan Larson, 2, and Kevin Miller, 1. If somebody else wants to go along with that, you can join them. That group, Mike and Dan will lead the group. Basically, you can walk from here. That's about a 15-minute walk. So they'll meet at the lobby area at 1:30. We'll get there about 1:45 and just pay for that there. It's $25 a person. If we have 12, which I think we do right now, it's $22.50. But anyway, that'll be taken care of there. And that's just a 15-minute walk through the area right here, and that'll last until about 3:15 or so, and then you can come back here. The other event is visit the Chuck Ehlers farm. For both of these, I have maps here. let me give you Chuck's address, so if some of you wanna put this in your phone or something like that. It says 20, correct me if I'm wrong, 2230 County Road 900 East, Champaign. 2230 County Road 900 East, Champaign. As Chuck kind of mentioned, it's really easy to get there. You leave West Church Street, which is right, the first road right north of the hotel. West Church Street, go west or left, go west through Prospect, keep on going straight, there's a light at Prospect. The next light is Mattis Avenue, which is kind of the west edge of town. Take a right or north on Mattis Avenue and just go, how many, 5 miles? 5 miles up Mattis Avenue, kind of jogs a little bit, but.
We got a sign that says 2200. That's where you turn. Go west 1 mile.
So there's a Pear Tree Estates Banquet Center on your right. As soon as you pass that, the next crossroads, take a left. And is that even a mile, 1 mile or
1
not?
mile, and then north a quarter.
1 mile, there's a church on the corner, and then take a right, and it's just right there.
Yep, yep, yep.
So it's easy
Two
to get to.
Holsteins and the Shetland pony out in the.
It's easy to get to. I have a map here. That, we're planning on leaving 1:30 or something like that. Chuck will be leaving after we're done with lunch or something. There's no schedule time as compared to the brainstorm escape.
This can last as long as you're up to. There's 2 rules. There's plenty of cold pop to drink. There's also a big tray of cookies, and there's some popcorn, and there'll be a fence at the end of the driveway until the cookies are gone, because if you don't eat them, I have to.
If you go on Mattis Avenue and you find a big curve right and left, you went too far. So, it's just right out of Church Street, go west to Mattis, north 5 miles, and then right past Pear Tree Estates, take a left 1 mile, then a right. You can't.
Real easy, 3 turns.
So if you have any questions, see him before. We do have a couple maps. Again, Dan and Mike will be leading the group for Brainstorm Escapes. The brainstorm escapes will be done about 3:15, and then that group can kind of make their way back if they want to stop at the local establishment on the way back. That's fine. We have scheduled the hospitality room, which is room 922, to be open from 4 to 7. Your group will probably get back a little later yet, I expect by that time. The evening is open again. For your supper on your own, get a group together. I do have maps here again in the city area if you want to get that, and didn't give one last night. I am staying around. I'm not going on either one of the tours, so some of you have not signed up. We can go back up to the hospitality room after lunch. I'll be up there and open that up if you want to do that for a few minutes or whatever, that's fine also. Other than that, again, lunch will be right out here. You can grab your plate, sit out there, or come back in here. I do again want to thank the people here, because this is kind of a special deal. Again, this has just opened up a week, and they normally don't open till 3 o'clock during the day. So they were the Hyatt's been very easy to work with and very hospitality to us. So we appreciate that very much. We hopefully give them some business here and tip the bartender, as they always say, right? So we appreciate that very much. If you have any questions about the rest of the day, check with myself or Mike or Dan or see somebody else. Any quick questions before we break?